Hello everyone, I am Anthropomantic Fiend and I do horror-related things on the internet, and you probably have not seen me for a while now, because I filmed my last review video, which went up a couple days ago, as of now, back a few days after Thanksgiving, so it has been taking me a really long time just to edit and upload one video, so I do not know when you will be seeing this video, but it will probably be well after the month of January at the pace I'm currently going at. So I would apologize, except that I have a lot on my plate right now and I do this for fun. So I'm trying to stay connected with people via other social media, which should be in the description below. So say hey to me in the meantime. I definitely do have more review videos planned, both for Heart of the Night reviews and Flights of Fancy, but I needed to do this first because I've been meaning to do this since August or since November when I put out my Blackbeard video. Like, time is crumbling before my eyes and has been for a while now. But that's not the point. The point is something I'm going to get to in a minute because I do have another thing I want to say first. If you've been following me on social media or if you know me in person, you know by now that I am gender fluid and I use she, they, he pronouns. If you have been checking my social media very recently, you should know that I am now using multiple names, and I'm not including nicknames like Anthro or Fiend or Lestat. I am Martin, but I am also M. You can spell that M or EM, and I am also Emily. All three are completely okay, but I would encourage people to use more than one of those because I like all of them, and some of them are relatively new to me, and when I hear people use them, they make me very happy. So that's a thing. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, so I'm going to start talking about that now. So if you were keeping up with me and my videos at all over the summer, you know that for Flights of Fancy, I was reviewing movies out of this box set. This is a 4 films fantasy adventure collector's edition, very special. There's not bonus features or anything on this, but it is 4 different mini-series. I don't really know how to say what the plural of mini-series is. All made by the prestigious company that is Hallmark. A couple of them fall into the fantasy genre, which is what I really cover on Flights of Fancy, and a couple of them really don't, but are somewhat fun in their own ways. But you can check out my reviews of all of these individually, just go through the history of my YouTube channel. But today I am going to be very quickly ranking all of them, or not very quickly as the case may be, because as if you can't tell, I really like to ramble. Without further ado, this is my ranking of the 4 films, or mini-series. I really don't like that phrase, but I don't know what else to say, in the Hallmark 4 films fantasy adventure collector's set. So coming in at the bottom, in the number 4 spot, we have The Poseidon Adventure, not to be confused with the original 1970s film. I believe there's also another remake under a different name that my friend Rusty recommended to me a while back. I do not remember what it's called. If anyone wants to remind me, let me know, or I can probably just check the comments under that video again. This is definitely the most modern story and the most purely adventure-oriented story, and it's just kind of dull and unenjoyable. Really, the best thing about it is the performance from actor whose name I am promptly going to forget. He played Jane in Firefly. I'll put his name down here somewhere. Adam Baldwin. He's in there as a private detective, and really it's not even that great of a part. I just mostly enjoy it because he plays it. And there's some solid acting throughout, and a fun piece of score that mimics Morse code for SOS. But mostly it is a lot of character stuff that doesn't really pay off in particularly satisfying ways. The ship going down very slowly in ways that don't really build suspense, and a super xenophobic twist on the plot of the original, which I have not seen. I will do that at some point, but instead of the ship's sinking being an accident, it is a terrorist attack, and there's a lot of jabs at people who don't look like they're white Americans, and it's incredibly icky. And I'm sure this was very close to post 9/11 and was kind of really playing off of the prejudices that came out of that, and it's really gross. There's a few things I like about it. Watch it if you want to watch every version of Poseidon Adventure that exists, but I don't love it at all. I'll probably never watch it again, to be honest. Coming in at number 3, we have The Curse of King Tut's Tomb. And I know I didn't do this for Poseidon Adventure, but I'm going to start from here on out reading the synopses of these off of the back of the box. Curse of King Tut's Tomb. The search for King Tut's tomb becomes a life and death struggle for two archaeologists, one who wants to protect the tomb's amazing powers and one who wants to use them to control the world. I actually had a lot of fun with this one. It is over long, and it also plays completely fast and loose with Egyptian mythology and really kind of patronizes actual, I suppose, indigenous Egyptian culture, because all the main characters pretty much are Indiana Jones style adventurers. This is very much like knockoff Indiana Jones or Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. But the little sequences that we get in here are just very campy, fun, adventure ridiculousness. Some people get eaten by a giant snake. Osiris shows up at some point and he has wings for some reason. Is just a dude with wings. And I forget the actor's name, but whoever plays the arch villain of this story, he's part of this council of evil and archaeologists that want these specific artifacts for control, and he kind of takes over and becomes more evil than the rest of them, and it's just this delightfully campy arch villain performance, which is something I always love. So there's a lot to like about it. Again, it does run really long. The plot's not particularly groundbreaking or even amazing, but it is just really overtly campy adventure fun in a lot of ways that made it particularly enjoyable. In the number 2 spot, we have Merlin's Apprentice. And a lot of what makes this one appeal for me is Sam Neill's performance as Merlin. Sam Neill doesn't get that much screen time in part 2 of this, but he still does get some, and what he gets in part 1 is delightful. He has a lot of fun with kind of being a grumpy but still playful old man who's also kind-hearted and has a lot of wisdom. This one does some really interesting stuff with Miranda Richardson as the Lady of the Lake, who is the villain in this version, and really talks about nature and some of the actual problems with the societal structure of Camelot, even while trying to save Camelot. It sounds more nuanced than it actually is the way I'm talking about it, but the themes it's playing with are actually very interesting, and it got some really good actors. It still succumbs to some silliness in a variety of places, but some of that silliness is still enjoyable, and like all of these, it does run kind of long, but I still had a lot of really solid fun with it. So for what it is, I would recommend it. I believe it's also a sequel to the Merlin miniseries that focuses on Sam Neill himself, which I need to go back to because I remember that one being even better than this one. And in the number 1 spot, we have Blackbeard. And this stars Angus McFadden, Mark Umbers, Jessica Chastain in what I think is her debut performance, Rachel Ward, Stacey Keach, and Richard Chamberlain. The synopsis is... Oh, I didn't do one for Merlin's Apprentice. You know what? Doesn't matter. But in the golden age of piracy, Blackbeard stood out as the most fearsome and notorious seafarer. In the golden age of piracy, Blackbeard stood out as the most fearsome and notorious seafarer of them all. This is the epic true story of the pirate who terrorized the seas and became a legend. This one just feels like 2 or 1 very long, solid 70s genre movie. It did not come out in the 70s, but the guy who directed it is a very seasoned genre filmmaker doing a lot of horror and maybe adventure and sci-fi. Very, very, I don't know if he's particularly well known, but definitely a seasoned genre director, and I think that shows. You also have powerhouses like Jessica Chastain, who, again, I think this is her debut, doing very well with what they're given. I'm also just a sucker for pirate stories. I read both fictional stuff and like true history of pirates that covered people like Blackbeard quite a bit when I was younger. And these pirates are as stereotypical as they come. Angus McFadden as Blackbeard is a total just stereotypical ARG pirate, but he plays it in such a delightful way. There's actually a lot of interesting character stuff going on, and a criticism of both the pirates and the colonial society that's hunting them, that often sort of is making deals with the pirates to abuse the system in some ways. The sword fight sequences are fun. I'm recapping a lot of stuff I already said in my review. You can just go watch that. But it's a fun little swashbuckling movie. It does kind of, again, patronize some indigenous cultures in some pretty awful ways, actually. None of these are exactly bastions of progressiveness or anything. But it has, I think, the strongest writing and the strongest directing and acting and choreography of any of these. It just fits together in a way that is very, very watchable. So out of all of these, I would very much recommend Blackbeard. These were super, super cheesy. I got it for 50 cents, so I think I got my money's worth out of these. If you find this and it's, similarly priced, it isn't anything I would go out of my way to buy again, but if any of these sound appealing to you and you find it for 50 cents, buy it. I will probably have more reviews of more fantasy content that I honestly find kind of preferable to these at some point in the near, or as the case may be, distant future. But that is my ranking of Hallmark's 4-film fantasy adventure collector set. Thank you for watching my video, and hopefully I'll see you in another one. Bye!